brothers and sisters, we've all turned up the radio to hear Brother Jimmy Lakey, from coast to coast and shore to shore. Now raise your voice. Oh, let us all, Jimmy Lakey, get out of bed. Jimmy Lakey, raise your voice. Jimmy Lakey, Lakey, hey, can't live without it with Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey.
Well, Heidi ho, neighbors. How you doing out there? Good to have you here on the show. It's a Friday edition, the 22nd day of August, year of our Lord, 2025. Jimmy is my name. Pleasured, pleased, and I am thrilled to be here with you on the program today. Everybody happy? All right, let's get through a couple of things. We'll finish up early today. Breaking news as you wake up is the home of John Bolton has been raided, my friends. Raiding the home of John Bolton, former national security advisor, nominee under Bush to be the ambassador to the United Nations, long seen as a Republican war hawk, served in the first Trump administration. But early this morning, they got a little knock on the door and said, "Excuse me, we have a search warrant," signed off on by a judge. No one knows exactly what they're looking for. Speculation is maybe some kind of a classified document. John Bolton has long been a hero. They hated him in the Bush administration because they viewed him as a strong advocate of war. That was when the Democrats were the anti-war party and George Bush was a warmonger and Dick Cheney was considered a war criminal by them. And John Bolton was a guy that could advocate war. And he did so quite effectively at times in Bush administration, and the left hated him. Well, now he's become a kind of a star of the left because he's kind of seen as a Republican resistance type because the Republican Party, remember, go back to the days of Eisenhower, the Republican Party has started to somewhat with the MAGA movement shun the military-industrial complex. And what did Eisenhower tell you in his farewell address? Beware of the military-industrial complex. And so you always had these deep state people. We know Clapper and Brennan created the story with fake intelligence about weapons of mass destruction never existed because they had ties financially or politically or socially, whatever, to these organizations that benefit, and maybe their own stock portfolio benefits on having our kids sacrifice their lives so they can get rich in the pocketbook or climb in their career. So no one really knows what Bolton is being his house raided for this morning. But supposedly there's a specific list of things signed off on by the judge. I was watching some early news reports of this, and they said what happens is you go in and in orderly fashion, unlike what they did with Mar-a-Lago, where they go through Melania Trump's panty drawer or her delicate items, if you will. They take what it is, you sign off on it, they take it off, and off they go. So they said sometimes a raid like that can take 30 minutes, sometimes it takes 15, sometimes it's one thing or many things. There was other speculation. Again, it's all speculation. No one really knows what the raid was looking for. But some people thought that the raid might be looking for some kind of a ties between him and the military-industrial complex and some collusionary behavior. So we don't know exactly what it is, but we do know that former national security advisor to Donald Trump and to George W. Bush and former UN ambassador from the United States, John Bolton, his home has been raided this morning. So a lot of speculation this morning going on. The FBI has raided John Bolton's home. A couple of news stories along with this. Jonathan Turley is wondering about the timing. Why now? What are they onto? And you also have, there's just so much, it's a lot of information coming out, but a lot of it's just speculation. But if John Bolton's home has been raided, and you'd have to think, what are they're investigating a grand conspiracy, right? They're investigating some grand conspiracy that was about and again, we don't know if this is another investigation. Michael Lutz inferred this week that there may be more than one grand jury going on, but they're all parts of a different investigation. But what they think has happened in the Comer Committee, not the Comey Committee, but the Comer Committee from Kentucky has basically laid out the fact that there's some kind of a grand conspiracy. A lot of these deep state agents were working together, and they're looking at all of them. Now, there's a news story out there about Let me just read it to you. I have it right here, justthenews.com. I'll pull it up here on my monitor, and I can tell you what it says. It's quite fascinating. It's a former FBI agent, Navy SEAL Jonathan Gilliam, says prosecutors may be able to now find criminal subversion or racketeering cases against government officials who carried out the Russiagate scandal. So now I don't think John Bolton was considered to be a part of the Russiagate scandal, but is there something there that ties him in the deep state underneath? I don't know. This is what we don't know. But what we do know is from Russiagate to collusion with military-industrial complex, we do know that Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and the Department of Justice and the FBI are all looking for something. They have a scent for something that they're looking for. They're not giving a lot of details, but they are going after something. Gilliam said on Just the News, I think what we have to start looking at is things like subversion like treason, insurrection. These are all the criminal actions that there's a law for. Just the News with John Solomon reported Thursday, that would be yesterday, that newly declassified memos show federal prosecutors gathering evidence from Comey's top lieutenants that the former director authorized the leak of classified information to reporters just before the 2016 election, but they declined to bring the charges that were criminal. The bombshell revelations involving ex-FBI General Counsel James Baker, ex-Comey Chief of Staff James Rebecki, more memorialized the documents that the FBI Director Kash Patel discovered earlier this year, but the passages were originally redacted by the Justice Department in versions sent to Congress. So they're looking at all sorts of charges here, and you want to know if this Bolton raid, which if they said they were going after Brennan's home or Comey's home, you might would understand that. But John Bolton kind of is a flash in the dark, kind of a new name to pop up, and you kind of have to wonder what it is that they are pursuing. And is it the same bone? Is it a different scent down a different trail? Or is there some other type of grand conspiracy? Because I don't think there's any argument out there that you can say John Bolton is not part of the deep state. He's part of the mechanism. He was always known as the war hawk. And as a matter of fact, I thought about it, holding up my photo of myself and John Bolton at an event about 15 years ago during the Bush administration, 20 years ago, I guess now. And I have a photo. And I showed it to one of my friends, and he goes, "Oh, my God, you're a warmonger." I said, "No, it's just a photo. It was a rubber chicken dinner fundraiser. I'll bring it Monday for show and tell. We'll do that on Monday." So anyway, keep a sharp eye on this whole thing. It's going to get real interesting real quick. And again, we've been watching over here, James Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Russiagate. And out of a sudden, you wake up on a Friday morning, they've got James Comey's house under invasion. John Bolton's house under raid. And that just, are they connected? We don't know. Or is there a whole different investigation over here? That's the key. I think it's going to be very interesting. Are they approaching the deep state and these warmongering hate mongers, Trump haters? Are they approaching them from two different angles? I would guess maybe Bolton had a suspicion that he was in trouble, or maybe he thought, okay, they're going to go after Clapper, Comey, and Brennan, because Bolton was not, that I know of, maybe behind the scenes, not necessarily a part of that intelligence community. He was not in there. He was more the State Department side of things. So it's definitely two different tracks. Are they running parallel? We don't know, but it's going to be very, very interesting to watch. And again, breaking news, if you're just joining us, is that John Bolton's home has been raided by the FBI this morning, and it's going to be interesting. It's also interesting to watch the media pretzelize itself or twist up in a tizzy that for many, many years, the media hated John Bolton. They absolutely despised John Bolton. He was a war hawk. He was a Bush guy, and Dick Cheney was a war criminal, and John Bolton was part of him. But the moment that John Bolton, who still has the same kind of views, and the Democrats have now taken on this warmongering atmosphere in their party, they think Bolton is a hero because Bolton was seen to be kind of at odds at Donald Trump. So the media showing that they like you as long as they like you, and as long as you're not Donald Trump, they like you. They think of all the bad things. Some of you younger folks don't remember all the nasty, negative things that were said about George W. Bush, Dick Cheney. They portrayed George W. Bush as a guy who should wear a helmet and probably licks the windows in the back of the limo. Dick Cheney was a warmongering war criminal. They actually talked about sending Cheney off to The Hague. And yet the moment that Cheney starts standing up to Trump, they start loving the guy they wanted to send off to The Hague. And that's kind of what they're doing with John Bolton here, is the media is covering this as this is lawfare. This is war. This is lawfare. And maybe it's not lawfare. Maybe there's something really here. Now, if it was lawfare and there's nothing to see here, then the Justice Department should be criticized. But there's got to be something here, and I think this kind of comes out of the blue. I haven't heard all morning anybody say that they expected this. Everybody's been watching the intelligence track of Russia. And so this James Comey, this John Bolton FBI raid comes as a little bit of a surprise to me, at least, and maybe a lot of other folks. All right, ready for this? Remember the name of Judge Engoron? He's that goofy judge. That goofy judge that threw the book at Donald Trump and fined Donald Trump $50 million. Well, Judge Engoron is being told to shut up and pound sand. Let me read the Fox News story. In New York, a court revealed that a leading citizen had cooked the books by inflating questionable figures without support of reality. Moreover, his wild overvaluation was widely viewed as motivated by self-aggrandizement. The report figures that are so absurdly inflated that they were rejected in their entirety. In the end, he was off by over $1 billion. You say, is this the case against Donald Trump? No, that's the case against Judge Arthur Engoron. The New York Appellate Court threw Engoron's absurd $500 million judgment and interest against Donald Trump. The irony was crushing. It was Engoron who seemed, as he characterized Trump's witnesses, as having simply denied reality. This is the case in which they fined Donald Trump all these bazillions of dollars because they say Donald Trump inflated the value of his properties in Mar-a-Lago. And this is this jackass judge that had decided that he's going to have to find hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, it got to the appeals court, and the appellate court says, yeah, that's way too much. You've inflated the numbers, judge. So the very thing, it goes back to this old adage that the very thing they accuse you of doing oftentimes is the thing that they are guilty of on their own. And that's exactly seemingly what happened with Judge Engoron. So he gets slapped down and told that he doesn't know how to count. He doesn't know how to add. And hopefully he resigns in disgrace. They really looked up one of the appellate court judges. There were some that were Trump derangement syndromes that were dissenting opinions. But one of them said, hey, if Donald Trump had committed a crime by overvaluating his properties, why are we handling this as a criminal case? This is a civil case that the banks that felt like they were, if a bank felt like they had been defrauded by over puffy evaluation, then the banks would be able to go after him. And not one bank ever went after President Trump. Not one bank complained that he wasn't getting paid back. If he overvalued the property, which they didn't think he did because they still gave him the loan, he paid all the loans back. So why is Judge Engoron getting involved? Judge Engoron gets slapped down by the appellate court, and his lawfare has backfired. You do realize, even though the media doesn't cover it often, that you do realize that a lot of the things that they have thrown against Trump, they do against Trump, they say against Trump, when it gets overturned, they don't ever really give you the follow-up. I'm thinking most people that think that Donald Trump did this, that, or another when it comes to valuation of his properties to the millions of dollars that he had to pay, was supposedly going to have to pay in fines. I am guessing that they will not report that all that was fake, all that was fraudulent, and Judge Engoron, in deeming his penalty against Donald Trump, was told he did the very thing that he was accusing Trump of doing, of overvaluation and padding the numbers in a bad way. So good for the courts. It all works out. Unfortunately, sometimes a rumor or fake news has a time to get all the way around the globe before the truth has a chance to get to the appellate court and get itself appealed. I got some fun stories I want to get to. We're waiting on the arrival of a guest who usually when you book these guests far out, some of them are slackers and they're waiting for them to show up. So I'm going to do that. I got a couple of stories here that are fun. And one of them is about a Volkswagen. I've been teasing this story all week. And would you do this? I don't like the thought of a cashless society. What does that do with Volkswagen? I don't like the idea of a cashless society because I think that one day when I tick off the wrong person to the government, they're going to say, oh, your little electronic card, it doesn't work. Well, bing, they control it. I like to have something tangible. I don't like the fact of being an all-electric car, electric grid, because all they have to do when you have power outages and brownouts going on in America, you know what's happened? They've had all of these moments in which they say don't charge your cars in California. And suddenly, if they don't want you to be mobile and to have freedom any longer because you've ticked off the government, I'm sorry if I'm being negative, but if I'm ticking off the government, then they can shut down my power. I can't charge my car and I'm stuck. So I don't like that. I like freedom, freedom, freedom. I'm all about the freedom here. All right, let me give the story. Would you ever do this, though? Not just giving the government power over the electrical grid and your cash money in your pocket. Volkswagen has debuted a new subscription plan. The car company for its electric cars, making people pay a monthly service fee or a monthly membership if they want to unlock the full horsepower that is available on that electric car. Now, it's only happening in the UK right now. No word as to when they might try or if they're going to try to do it in the US. But here's an example of how it works. Their Volkswagen ID3 electric car has 228 horsepower. But if you don't pay the fee, just over $20 a month, you're only going to get to access 201 of those horsepower. You pay a subscription fee, Volkswagen will magically turn your car up to where you can access all 228 horsepower. You just got to pay $20 a month. They're framing it as giving people more options. If you drive like a grandma, you might only want 200 horsepower. And if you need more to zip it, you can pay for that. They claim it's nothing new. Quote, historically, many gas and diesel vehicles have been offered with engines of the same size, but with the possibility of choosing one for more potency. They say this is not unusual. This is just saying, hey, you got the same size. What potency do you want? You're going to have to pay us monthly to have that. So it's an interesting concept. Volkswagen drivers in the UK who want the extra zip pay $22 a month for the privilege or a yearly fee of $225. There's also an option of paying a one-time fee of $880. Volkswagen says the option keeps the activity unlocked. Even if you sell the car, it stays unlocked. Let me ask you, do you think it's a good idea? Would you ever in the world you live in pay a subscription so that you can have full access to the car that you are already buying? What else? I have another fun story here, I believe, on this glorious day the Lord has made. This is a crazy story. Remember a couple of years ago, and maybe you don't, I'll remind you. Steve Harvey, who I think now hosts the Family Feud. He's a funny guy. I like Steve Harvey. I follow a few of his Instagram videos, and so he's always in my Instagram algorithm feed. So I like Steve Harvey. Seems to be a good God-fearing man. He's a funny guy. I like him. Well-grounded. I don't know if he's a Trumper, but he's tell people, settle down. This Trump guy's not going to hurt you that bad. He's a pretty pragmatic fellow from what I know. Don't know a lot about him, but I like him. Well, I remember a few years ago, he was hosting like the Miss Universe pageant. If I have it right, he's hosting one of the big pageants, worldwide pageants, and he announced the wrong winner. He read the card wrong. It became a viral moment. A lot of folks thought it was orchestrated. But no, one girl thought she won, and then 10 seconds later, he goes, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. You're the first runner-up. You're the winner. And so she had the thrill of victory and the joy of defeat all within 5 seconds. And somebody else had the pain of defeat and the thrill of victory within 5 seconds. So he screwed up the announcement. Anybody else remember that? I think it was Miss Universe or I don't know. It might have been Miss Bangladesh for all I know. It was some kind of a pageant. Well, there's courthouse footage of this. Imagine you're accused of a crime you did not commit. You're in court waiting for the judge to read the verdict, and this happens. A 26-year-old man, a person named Alton Oliver, was on trial in Georgia last week facing murder charges. We're talking serious charges. He was accused of killing an off-duty cop in 2022, but claimed it was in self-defense. A lot of details out there if you want to look it up. The trial lasted 3 days. It wrapped up on Friday of last week, 1 week ago, after the jury came back with the verdict. They handed it to the judge behind the bench to read, and everyone was on the edge of their seat. Was Alton Oliver going to be accused and found guilty of murder, possibly spend the rest of his life in jail, or was it going to be ruled not guilty because it was self-defense? If you haven't seen the court footage, I should play that, and it's all over social media because the judge flubbed up the verdict. No joke, he flubbed up the verdict. He said guilty, but meant to say non-guilty on all counts. Someone off camera, apparently a jury, corrected him, and he finally said not guilty about 20 seconds later. The casual apology he gave irked some people. He chuckled and said, I apologize for my miscommunication. A lot of folks criticizing the judge that he was not more, broken by his stupidity and reading the verdict. Anybody seen anything like that? That's even worse. That's even worse than thinking you won the pageant versus you lost the pageant. That's even worse than that. A pageant's one thing. Okay, I'll do it again next year maybe. But to think you're going off to jail, that's a very, very bad thing. All right, another fun story as I clear out the stack of stuff that's been on my show sheet all week. Anybody have anxiety? Anybody know anxiety? A lot of folks have anxiety. A lot of people's anxiety kicks in on Sunday nights before they have to go back to work. There's different things cause you anxiety. I'm not asking you to tell me what causes you anxiety. Well, in a new poll, guys, if your anxiety is spiking today, it could be because of the chaos that's happening at work or the haircut you're scheduled after work. There's a new survey out on men's haircuts. They say 21% of the men say they feel nervous about getting their barber or hairstylist for a new look. 23% of men have been afraid to ask for specific cuts, even when they really wanted something different. They're just afraid to ask. The study says that the average guy gets their hair cut 10 times a year, about once every 5 weeks, and has the same hairstyle for 7 years. 84% of men say they feel confident with their current hairdo. 55% say they've never considered changing it. The other 45% thought about it, but doesn't mean they're up to anything. The haircut. Their guys get anxiety about their haircuts. Ladies, next time your man is heading off to get whether the great clips or the fancy salon, you need to know that 21% of those men have a little anxiety because sometimes they don't like the look they have. They wish they get a new look. They don't know what look to do. They feel like they're going to walk away disappointed. So give your man a little extra grace and mercy and love whenever he heads off to get his haircut next, because 21% have anxiety when it comes to haircuts. 21% get anxious. Do you know that? Rumors out there, Taylor Swift's going to play the Super Bowl. It's just a rumor that they suspect she might, because Super Bowl 60 will be down at Levi Stadium, and their mascot is Sourdough Sam, and evidently Taylor Swift's appearance on the New Heights podcast, she shared that sourdough has taken over her life and what she talks about 60% of the time. And so they think that Taylor's been given some hints out there that she's going to be at the Super Bowl thing. When Taylor says she's thinking about sourdough 60% of the time, it could be leading to Super Bowl 60. So either they're thinking that she's throwing breadcrumbs out there for the Swifties out there. We should call James Comey. James Comey has identified himself as a Swiftie, and find out if James Comey has any word on whether or not T Swift is going to be performing at the Super Bowl. All right, I've got Sheriff Steve Reams coming up. He had technical difficulties yesterday. The IT department of the Weld County had upgraded everything, and when they upgrade things, you know how it goes. The geeks come through and they upgrade stuff, and then when they upgrade stuff, it doesn't work until they come back and fix what they upgraded. So that was happening yesterday. If you missed Sheriff Steve Reams yesterday on the program. Hey, before we go to Sheriff Steve Reams, can I take a brief pause and remind you, Friday, September the 5th, is my charity golf tournament. It's at the Colorado National Golf Club, and we'd love to have you there. This is a little clip that producer Chad and I made of me out there going to what's it called, the rough, the greens. We're off in the protected wildflowers, trying to find the ball that was missing. Roll the tape, producer Chad. See what we have here. Come see us Friday, September 5th. Hey, it's Jimmy, the Rivers Promise, just over here looking for my golf ball. You know why? Because I'm not a great golfer. And you know what? To play in our golf tournament for Rivers Promise, you don't have to be a great golfer. Matter of fact, most people are going to have their balls right out here. Just come, play with us. Friday, September the 5th. Registration is open. It's our 9th annual charity golf event. Biggest fundraiser of the year for Rivers Promise. We need you here to be successful. Register, riverspromise.com, riverspromise.org. Again, Friday, September the 5th, Colorado National Golf Club in Erie, whether you live down the block or across the country. Get here Friday, September the 5th. And also, you can help me find the ball that I've lost today on Friday, September 5th. See you here. All right, there I am out there looking. We never found it. We're going to go back again tomorrow and find it as soon as possible. All right, good to have you here. By the way, a little programming note. The next 2 Fridays, we will not have a show. This is our final Friday show for a couple of weeks. So, by the way, Joanne says, love this, miss you on KCOL. They still operate? They still have a station? Anybody listen to it? I don't think so. Last I heard, it was staticky. They needed to dial something in, but that would require an engineer to come up and care. And the engineers are in a different area than there. It's the idea that these companies have local radio is it's fraudulent in most cases. It's not. It's 2 or 3 people holding things together with a duct tape and yeah. So anyway, I wish them well. But there's nothing local on there anymore. So who cares? 10 years, I just said 10 years. That's a long time. You believe Sheriff Reams have been a sheriff for more than 10 years. 10 years is a long time on like one thing. Yeah. Here we are. The programming note, the next 2 Fridays, we will not be doing a show. Next Friday, I will be traveling out to see my son to handle some business out there with him at his school. And then the following Friday is that charity golf tournament. So that this is the final Friday. Now, Doug Giles will not be with us today. Everybody loves Doug. He cannot be on today. He said he'll be back next week. I've got to let him know that we're off the next 2 Fridays. So I'll try to get Doug rescheduled in to the program sometime so we don't have to wait 3 or 4 weeks to have Doug back on. But this is the final Friday for a couple of weeks because next week I'm heading out to be in transit and dealing with some stuff with my son, who's got to have another football injury. So we're going to take care of that next Friday. So we're going to be doing that, and that'll be fun. That's exciting. And I'll be heading out for that, and that's Friday, and then I'll be back, and then I have my golf tournament the following Friday. So just a programming note, there are no shows the next 2 Fridays. This is the final one for a couple of weeks. Programming note for you. Second of all, if by chance, and I think we're going to make it okay, Producer Chad, we were worried, if by chance at any time during the program you see something pop up on the screen that says "Be right back" like this, that could be me running. That could be me running down to find a. I was up all night sick, and I am sitting here in a cold sweat doing the show this morning, and I don't know if I'm hot. I don't know if I'm cold. I had to get up and went to the pre-show meeting and go. So anyway, just wanted to know if Steve Reams is on the show and I disappear. Steve, just keep talking. You've hosted radio before. Keep talking until I'm back in this chair. But I think we're going to make it. I think we'll wrap up a little early today so that I can deal with this. But I'm a little, yeah, it was a long night. Let's just say that. I felt great yesterday. Felt great until it was, yeah. Anyway, I don't know what happened. Anyway, so if you see this, that's an emergency way to handle it and deal with it. And then I will tell you thank you as well. So I'm just letting you know. But if I disappear mid-sentence with Steve Reams, Steve's a trained professional. He's hosted talk shows before. And he'll be fine. Steve Reams, Weld County Sheriff. He's my sheriff, Steve Reams. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jimmy. Hopefully you can hear me today.
I can hear you. Hallelujah.
Yeah, miracles can happen, right?
Yeah, it happens. They update your computer. They never tell us how to fix. I get it. Technology happens. All right, I wanted to bring you on yesterday, and we obviously had a technical glitch. A couple of stories. There's a story, first of all, let's start in Colorado. We were told, you remember this, Danielle Jurinsky said this was a figment of your imagination. John Fabricatori, we put the cameras up. Jared Polis, those aren't illegals. There's nothing to see here. Gaslighting by definition. Now we find out last week that they've arrested 30 people and that Colorado, it wasn't the figment of imagination. It wasn't just one apartment. Tren de Aragua had set up basically their national headquarters was in Colorado, and our governor wouldn't admit it and still probably hasn't admitted it. Give me your thoughts. What did you know back when this all first broke? Were you surprised that they had 30 people arrested? Kind of talk about the activities of these criminal illegals in the state of Colorado, what you have witnessed as a sheriff.
Sure. Well, I think let's start out by saying, Governor Polis has repeatedly, parroted to the media that Colorado is not a sanctuary state. And anybody who's using their eyes clearly understands that Colorado is a sanctuary state. We've passed laws in this state to codify our sanctuary policies. And so when you start doing that kind of stuff, you invite folks who want to take advantage of the system. And we've seen this increase in law enforcement over the years, where illegal immigration is it's a problem. I mean, and so when you have illegals that are coming into the state, there's going to be a section of those folks that are here to do criminal behavior. They fled from where they were at. They see a new frontier, if you will, where they can come and commit crimes. And Colorado just invites it. In fact, they subsidize it. So when we started seeing this stuff happening in Aurora, that was probably the most outlandish thing that you could see on TV. I mean, you had video, you had people that were reporting it, but it was just finally getting to the point where, the mainstream media couldn't ignore it anymore, even though they tried to make it sound as if it was a figment of someone's imagination. Your eyes told you differently. And while we were seeing pockets of that stuff around Colorado, to see it, so brazenly in Aurora, I mean, I'd like to tell you that I was shocked, but I'm not. I mean, this is what you get when you bring in liberal policies that invite these folks to come violate our laws, and we're openly saying, hey, we're going to kind of turn a blind eye to some of this stuff in Colorado. Why wouldn't Tren de Aragua or MS-13 or anybody else come to Colorado where they can start a criminal enterprise? And that's exactly what happened.
I haven't seen it. Watching the reporting of these arrests that happened, these were some violent dudes. They were beheading guys. They were doing some pretty nasty stuff. I haven't seen much of the media go and stand on the doorstep of Jared Polis's office and say, hey, you said we're not a sanctuary state. You said this was a figment of the imagination. Have you seen Jared Polis give a response to, you can't call him anything else but lies that he told last year about Fabricatori and Jurinsky? Has he responded at all? Has any media even demanded that he give an apology?
That's a great question, Jimmy. And quite honestly, I think he went into hiding on this particular topic, because the minute the stuff started blowing up where, he said it was a figment of Jurinsky's imagination or a feature of her imagination, and then that was proven to not be the case, she was exactly on point. He kind of just, he slipped back into the hedges and kind of disappeared from reality. And he's just stayed silent, all this stuff. The only thing that you'll get is, whenever there's some kind of a federal issue, nationwide issue where they call Colorado out as a sanctuary state, you might get that soundbite where he says, no, we're not a sanctuary state. We've never declared ourselves a sanctuary state, where he clearly has by the legislation that he signed. I mean, but no, he's hiding from the issue, and he's famous for that stuff. Like he'll stay back in the shadows until he thinks the coast is clear.
Depending on what state you're in, if you're in Colorado, people think of Denver, Aurora. Okay, they got a problem. You watch these raids from ICE and Tom Homan, Boston, these big cities. You're in the metro area a bit, but you're also more rural in Weld County, and I'm sure one of these things is the same as the other. Are all these Tren de Aragua gang criminal illegals, are they just restricted to the Denver, Aurora area or the Boston area? What do you see in Weld County?
So, they're obviously going to center themselves in places like Denver, Aurora, where, you have population bases that they can sell their drugs to and exploit people more readily. But they're not limited to those areas. The amount of drug trafficking that's gone up in the state is noticeable, or was noticeable. I will say that the border wall being up has definitely made a difference in drug trafficking into the United States. All that being said, we deal with the overflow that comes up out of the Denver metro area, especially in the south part of the county. That county line that is kind of represented by the area between Fort Lupton and Brighton, but up the I-25 corridor into the Longmont area, or all the way up into Fort Collins even. I mean, drugs don't just limit themselves to one area. And Tren de Aragua, MS-13, any of the gangs that are operating here in Colorado are financing themselves through narcotic trafficking 9 times out of 10, or gun running at the same time.
At any given time in your jail, how many people do you have are just average, good old American citizens that got off the wrong step and did some naughty things and they need to get their life right? And how many of them are these people that come up from they're not here legally? What's the average population span?
It kind of varies, but at any given time, I would say 5 to 20% of my jail population is probably in that illegal immigrant category. Having said all that, it fluctuates greatly. We do have a cooperative agreement with ICE, and so we have kind of a special arrangement where, if ICE has an interest in a person inside the jail, we're going to make sure that we've figured out some pathways around some of these sanctuary laws to make sure that ICE can be effective in Weld County. And I think because of that, we don't have nearly the high number in the Weld County jail that you might see in others. But illegals committing crime and being brought to jail, other than just violating the law of how they got here, but violating our laws in Colorado. They exist in Weld County, and they are a portion of our jail population each and every day.
We have a story in Colorado. Then I want to go to the story in Florida about the family killed by a guy with a driver's license. We have the story in Colorado about a deputy, I believe, or I think it was a sheriff's deputy in the mountains, that pulled a lady over and alerted ICE, hey, she's heading down the road and she's illegal, and ICE came in and took her away. Jared Polis came in and suspended that guy. What's the story of that? And is that kind of what Jared will do to anybody that tries to cooperate in any way and keep our streets safe?
Sure. That was actually a Mesa County deputy over in Grand Junction. He was working with he was on a task force, or he was combined with a task force that consisted of some federal partners with Homeland Security investigations, which is synonymous to ICE, Border Patrol. Essentially, they were doing a bunch of criminal interdiction in Mesa County. This particular deputy, he was kind of I guess, part-time affiliated with that group, from what I understand. There was some confusion on his part about whether or not he could supply this information to ICE, just based on a recent change in the law. Long story short, he was probably a little out of bounds with the information he provided to ICE as it pertained to the law. But the Mesa County Sheriff's Office, when they were made aware of this, took action. They were disciplining the deputy for potential violation of the new state law. They were taking corrective action, but that wasn't good enough. And it was actually Phil Weiser who said, I'm not going to let that stand. I'm going to sue this deputy in his personal capacity. And he did just that. It didn't matter that Mesa County was correcting the issue, which is pretty common. If you have a deputy that steps outside of policy or procedure or even law, usually that agency corrects it and reports what they do to correct that measure to the post board, which is under the purview of the Attorney General. In this particular case, the agency wasn't given the opportunity to make that correction and inform the Attorney General of what they were doing. He just flat out decided, I'm gonna overstep the agency and sue the deputy individually.
Wow. Now you said you Weld County have a different arrangement set up. Can you tell us that arrangement you have with ICE, or is that top secret intel?
So at the risk of not being transparent, what I will say is everything that ICE does, they start out as looking to see if a violator or potential violator or potential person that they have interest in it has violated a criminal law before they do anything that has to do with civil law. There are two bodies of law. If a person comes here illegally, that may be a civil infraction, but it may also be a criminal infraction. So if ICE says we have an interest in someone, we're going to assume that they, just like the FBI, the ATF, or anybody else, is coming here to investigate a criminal matter, and we'll give them access to interview anyone they want, any federal agency, to interview anybody they want who they believe may have violated a criminal law.
Gotcha. Sheriff Steve Ream. Sheriff, one more question. This story that's a horrible story. Illegal alien in Florida has a commercial driver's license from California and Washington State. He's driving in Florida, 4-lane highway. He turns over the right lane, decides to make a wide U-turn through the emergency pass-through in the middle of the highway. Family of four plows their minivan into the back of this guy's tractor trailer, and they're all dead. This guy's now been extradited, fled to California, extradited back to Florida. It's a horrible story. People go, wow, that's California shouldn't be giving illegals driver's license. The guy pretty much failed and couldn't read traffic signals or traffic signs. Colorado does the same thing. We give illegals driver's licenses.
So, when I heard it was California that issued it, I very well could see where Colorado could have been in the issuing state. In fact, in my personal life, I have a friend who runs a pipe yard. He sells oil field pipe, and it's rare for him to get a driver that speaks English anymore. And that's right here in Colorado. So that tells you exactly what we're dealing with when it comes to big trucks on the road. Those things are, they're dangerous if not operated correctly. And what you saw happen in Florida, could that very easily happen here in Colorado? I would argue that it has. You had the big accident that happened in Jefferson County where the guy was coming down the mountain and crashed and set people on fire. How different is that than what you're seeing in Florida? And Colorado is just as lax in the way that they issue driver's licenses as California, Washington, or any other liberal-run state.
It's really sad. I was telling the story. I think we couldn't connect yesterday, but I was telling the story. I travel a lot, especially on weekends, and I Uber from my house or Lyft or whichever I'm on. And there's been, I guess, 3 of the last 5 times that somebody will pick me up, usually going towards the airport, that I get in. They do not speak English, and that's okay, fine. I can go hola, whatever. But I had one in particular that literally heading down Colorado Boulevard, it was closed for construction at a certain area for 3 or 4 months. And he did it basically had an arrow go this way, get back on I-25 and head back down south. Some people know what area I'm talking about. I watched him and I'm like, is he going to turn? And he didn't. He went around the detour sign and kept going. And I'm looking on my phone going, how the hell did I tell this guy to stop? And I'm banging going, I mean, I could see construction workers ahead of us, the whole thing, and he just didn't pay attention. And I did actually finally get a hold of a chat bot or a human being at Lyft or Uber, and this is going to happen. It's not just going to be a big truck driver. Somebody's going to get killed in an Uber or Lyft with these illegals driving.
So don't you have to ask yourself, like, how did he get through the testing process with Uber or Lyft? I mean, he had to go through some kind of application process. Did they cater to him in his own language? And if so, doesn't that kind of fly in the face of logic for providing ride services in a state where English is the dominating language? I mean, it just makes no sense to me. And we encounter it in construction zones, those kind of things all the time where, we have people that you want to say they're disregarding the signs, but they just flat out can't read them.
Can't read them.
And so, yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem that is going to continue to get worse. But thankfully, President Trump's done something monumental, and he's actually stopped the flow into our country.
Yeah, it's interesting. I asked a friend of mine, I have a couple of friends who Lyft or Uber on the side, and he said the only test you have to do is if they pull up your driving record, if you have a valid state license and you don't have any nasty things, Uber and Lyft give you the seal of approval. So the fault lies in the state of Colorado, letting these people. Yeah, the Jared Polis's Colorado has failed the state and is going to get somebody killed.
In many ways, he's failed this state. Yes, I don't have too many things that I can pat Jared Polis on the back for.
Any prognostication in this state, Steve Reams, in our final seconds together? Obviously, Jared Polis is limited. About a year from now, we'll be heavy into a battle to take the state back in some of our statewide offices, governor, attorney general, etc. What are you hearing the scuttlebutt on the streets, sir? Are we going to be able to take some ground back in the state?
Well, I think it's a very narrow pathway for, the path to governorship on the Republican side. What it's going to take is candidates that are running for those statewide positions that are well known, they're well spoken, that they resonate well with not only Republicans but independent voters. And I will just say this: I think there's 15 candidates running for governor right now, and I don't think the winner is in the race yet. So if people are worried that, hey, we don't have the right candidate in that race yet, I think there's still time for a candidate that can resonate with voters to get in, and a candidate that will inspire voters to support them. And I think there's still a possibility of that occurring. The rest of the races, those sometimes get lifted up by a governor's race, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for at this point.
Sheriff Steve Reams, glad your speaker is working again, sir. I appreciate the time, and we'll have to do it again. And, it's funny, the station, sometimes I'll turn on the radio, said, that's Sheriff Steve Reams doing fill-in. They never asked me to do fill-in when I worked for them, but they ask you, it's fine. It's all right. It's fine. It's
well,
right.
you were the paid talent. I'm just the guy that'll do it for free. So
they don't give you $1 or $2?
No, it cost me money to go do that.
Shoot, but I really look at my 10 years, it probably cost me money to do that as well.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the way it goes, right?
That's radio. All right. Steve Reams, God bless you, my friend. We'll talk again soon. Thank you for hopping in here. Steve Reams, talk show host extraordinaire and sheriff extraordinaire. Good to have you, Steve. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you will forgive us. We're going to wrap up the show early today. As I said, I was... went to bed early and literally was sick as sick as a dog all night. And I don't know what I did. Don't know if I ate something. Don't know if I had the flu. I don't know. I'm cold sweating the whole time here. And so producer Chad and I actually thought about calling off the show today, but guess what? I love you too much to do that. And I was supposed to have an event tonight that I am hosting, and I needed to kind of put some taxing on my body to find out if I'm sick, if it was just a passing food thing, or if I need to tell people don't come to my house tonight because I'm having a big dinner party. I don't know. So anyway, we did the show. It was a test just to see if I could get through it, which I have gotten through it. But it's not been easy. So we're going to take a pause here. Can I ask you a couple of things to do something for me? Number one, remember Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. She was supposed to be with us today. She's going to start being with us on Fridays at 8:30 in the morning for a brief segment. But she had a house closing. She's helping make somebody's real estate dreams come true today. She has a house closing that starts in about 12 minutes, so she could not be here. On the program today. So she's going to be on Tuesday. And she'll be on the next couple of Tuesdays until we're back on Friday. Then she'll move over to Friday. But listen, you think about real estate and real estate transactions, I want you to reach out to Sherry. Again, it's consultation, conversation. Just because you call her doesn't mean you made your final decision. You may know if you're like me, you know lots of realtors and stuff. But figure out the one that's best for you. These are lifetime and really generational impacting decisions. You want to have that person on your side that you know that has your back. And I believe Sherry can be that person for you. Have a conversation. Maybe you're not want to sell right now, but it's coming. Start the strategery. There's a lot of talk today about what the announcement or what the Fed's going to say, and is he going to give any hint about the interest rate coming up? There's a lot of just speculation out there, and a lot of folks know that if that rate comes down, the home buying market is going to alter and change, and you want to be in position. You don't just get in that position. It's strategery, my friends. Strategy, as a real American would say, strategy or strategery, as George W. Bush would say. Listen. Talk to Sherry. She can handle everything from helping you get it priced right, to help you pick the timing, help you find the things, even find the people that can do the things you need to do, whether it's staging or painting, to get everything ready. She wants you to get top dollar for your home, and she wants you to have the right timing on everything. You owe it to yourself if you're contemplating buying or selling. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. Reach out to her if you would, homeswithsherry.com, and make that appointment, conversation. And again, maybe you're not ready yet, but you can go ahead and have a conversation and start kind of get the wheels turning in your head. And she can at least steer you in the right direction. She believes and knows that real estate can make it can turn into generational wealth, and she wants to help you make that possible. Homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. Reach out to her. We'd appreciate it. All right. Also, 2 weeks from today, Friday, September 5th, is our charity golf event for Rivers Promise, a Building Legacy Christian Academy. There's still space to get in there, still a little bit of room here and there. If you'd like to go, if you haven't registered, please do. It would be a very... It would be very, very good if you show up there. It's going to be a fun time. And it's 2 weeks from today, Colorado National Golf Club, and I would love to see you there. And if you can sponsor, maybe you want to sponsor, would be one of our whole sponsors. That's the easy way to not participate. Maybe you just want to send a couple of bucks. This is our biggest fundraiser of the year. It's our 9th annual charity golf event. We'd love to have you there Friday, September the 5th. And you can register to learn more at riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. And also, don't forget, if you want to make a donation on this Friday that the Lord has made to the charity, feel free to do that there as well. I didn't have time because we're cutting the show short this morning for previously mentioned reasons. Monday, let's get into the Cracker Barrel logo. Anybody see they took the cracker off the barrel logo? Yeah, they took the old guy off. Big controversy. I'm thinking this is press-driven. I'm thinking this is a media relations team driving this controversy. The stock for Cracker Barrel, those spiraled yesterday. People just didn't like the logo. Producer Chad, we got to be very careful about changing any of the logos back here. We could lose our stock prices if we're not careful. Something could happen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to go wipe my brow from the cold sweat that I'm in and try to feel better for the rest of the day. But I did want to be here with you today and not miss a moment. But God bless you. I appreciate you being here today. Monday morning, good Lord willing, we'll be back up here and we'll do the full show. We'll do the meme roulette as well. But for the sake of time, sanity, and getting me to survive the hour, we're going to cut it off today. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Have a great weekend. Go to riverspromise.org. If you'd like to support this show, go to info@jimmylakey.com. Send us an email. We'll be glad to advertise for you. Whether you're in Colorado, California, doesn't matter. Missouri, doesn't matter. Florida will help you there as well. It's info@jimmylakey.com. I'll see you Monday morning, good Lord willing, and hopefully I feel better by then. Until we meet again, God bless you. God bless America. And yes, Jeff, I am wearing pants. Well, I'm wearing short pants, but summertime, I always wear shorts. Like I should be golfing, except I don't feel like I should be golfing. God bless you. God bless America. Jimmy Lakey. I'm out of here.